Somebody said, oh, leaving Lagbaja was the worst decision. And I was like, no, it isn't. No, it wasn't, Again, I would hear stories. I would see stuff about how they went to our wedding. There was a person.
There was news that you had Lagbaja wedding.
Oh, yes.
Why was leaving Lagbaja one of the best decisions?
Yes, it was. It opened up a whole new world for me.
What was it like dealing with the disappointment, though, of not getting as many shows as you thought you would?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was very hard. That was lessons. Well, one of the lessons I learned along the way.
So, Did this lead to financial issues at any point? Or were you able?
It led though. I always pray, okay, let me not be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And let me be sincere in my emotions. If I'm happy for you, this is where you do the shekere.
This is where I do the shekere. I will do it. Then I see a news headline says, Ego breaks silence on exit from Lagbaja's band. I'm like, break? I thought say we don't break this.
Hey. I saw myself, they think I'm
How many times are we going to break this silence?
I don't know. I posted, a tweet.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was because I saw a comment, about 2 comments on somebody else's post. I think it was Benga Dinka's show or something.
Right,
and they made me come on stage and all that. So, people were, talking. And then somebody said, oh, leaving Lagbaja was the worst decision. Some people are meant to, work with somebody to be successful. And I think that morning I just woke up in and I was like, no, it isn't. No, it wasn't, So it just made me start thinking, like, what, I think I need to change this narrative. I've seen other articles. There are people, somebody just wake up and just write something like, oh, she's not doing so well. She's not. Do I look like somebody that's not doing well?
You look fantastic.
Thank you. So, I would keep quiet and people would send stuff to me, but I just.
These days,
let's just move on.
Yeah.
We're both good. We're fine. There's no drama.
Yeah.
Let's just change it. We're good, and that's it.
Let's change that narrative. So you say you heard people say, "Oh, this was the worst decision." Yeah, was this the worst decision? I mean, it's an easy question I'm throwing at you.
Yeah, it's not. It was one of the best decisions, actually.
Right. Why was it one of the best decisions? Why was leaving Lagbaja one of the best decisions?
Yes, it was. It opened up a whole new world for me. We did not fight. There were no issues. And I believe in my instincts a lot. I always listen. At that point, it was telling me to move. And in all honesty, I felt there was nothing more I could do to top what I had done at that time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was impossible, but I just felt, this is...
At that time,
yes, in that context, So I was like, okay, it's time for me to move on and do... I didn't have a plan. It wasn't like, I'd been thinking about it. I think I thought about it within a month and I went to him. So it wasn't as if I had one serious plan, but I sort of knew what I wanted. I wanted a band of my own. I just wanted to do my own thing, my own kind of music. And that was it. And I went to him and we talked, and he was happy. I mean, it was like bittersweet, but I knew you have this leadership quality. I knew you were one of those people that would end up having our own band and doing this. And he was very supportive. And it was like, okay, you know what? This was in October, I think. And it was like, okay, let's make the December show like a send forth for you, like a graduation. And that was it.
Yeah. Coco Below, Never Far Away, these were the songs. So it's only what we see that we interpret, which is like Ego and Lagbaja, biggest stars, in the music industry at this time, they go their separate ways. Then it looks like one person disappears. It looks like, other thing happens. Do you understand where people are coming from?
I totally get it. But I feel there has to be proof that, okay, what you're saying, you're saying these things with conviction. There has to be proof. Like, you have to see me, like, begging. I'm like, I'm not doing so good. What I mean?
No, you say you like to trust on your instincts, yeah? I mean, I've had some instincts in my life that later I thought, okay, we don't test that now, but that instinct. So you are absolutely convinced that your instincts were right about leaving Lagbaja's band in 2007.
Yeah.
No regrets on that.
Absolutely.
Right.
I hardly regret stuff. Yeah.
I want to ask you a funny question. Do you miss the headlines in Encomium and City People and all of them about how seriously you were dating Lagbaja?
As in, I don't miss it. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah.
Again, I would hear stories. I would see stuff about how they went to our wedding. There was a person.
Oh, there was news that you and Lagbaja wedding.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And they went to the wedding.
A friend of mine told me she was at a salon and she overheard somebody saying it. I went to the person said collected souvenir and everything. And I was like, no. I wish I was there. Like,
you were there at your wedding.
Oh my God. I wish I was at the salon when the person was saying,
Oh,
I was
right,
like,
yes.
yeah, So, just funny stories.
Yeah.
And I know, I don't look at it with anger or anything. It's just entertaining to me. Like, what people are so invested in this thing? But why? It's never happened.
Yeah. Going abroad now, it's like being sunrise. Then, going abroad for Nigerians was, and so it's like, Lagbaja took his band member to, London, America. There was a debate in my compound.
That
This is the confirmation.
Hell, my Lord.
Honeymoon.
Hell. In fact,
I can never forget it.
In fact, Never Far Away, according to them, was the farewell song.
Right.
Our love. I have to go, but I love you.
What was it like dealing with the disappointment, though, of not getting as many shows as you thought you would get?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was very hard. I realized, that was lessons. Well, one of the lessons I learned along the way, that people just talk. People don't put, their money where their mouth is. Oh, you should do this one, then you do this one. On my own.
Yeah.
Like, on my own.
Yeah.
Only you waka come. So I started from scratch. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
I started from scratch. But I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted a studio. I knew I didn't want to start renting studios because that was what we're doing at the beginning. Going to studio and they'll be counting time for you. You're like, I can't work like this. It's a creative space. When I wanted to record, though, I got that encouragement from, I have to say his name, Eddie Lawani.
Right.
He actually gave me money for my first session, I think, because I said I wanted to work with Cobams. And I told Cobams, you don't have any choice. Whether you like it or not.
You're going to do this work.
You're going to do it.
Yeah. How did you manage to keep going?
Passion. It was passion. I believed in myself. I saw something. And how I was going to get there, I didn't know. But I knew I wanted to get there. I saw it clearly. And I knew it wasn't impossible. I just needed the right people. I needed people too that were as passionate as I was, and who were passionate about music, and who were passionate about the band and the vision. I was always talking about my vision. And I knew. You think I sound like a crazy person, but I know what I'm saying. So that kept me going. I knew my job. These days I'm always now being arrogant. Before I'll be like, I'm a damn good singer. Yes, I've learned it because people have talked to me. We're always putting I knew that I would give a good show. I knew it. So we were rehearsing like crazy. It was like, if you pay for a show, the way I prepare for that show, you will not believe it. Like I never had a bad show. I was never, ever late. I was ready. It was a production. Each show was a production. No two shows are the same. It was like different songs. This is the kind of crowd. I will ask questions. Okay, the theme, the colors. I don't want the band to clash with your color theme. Like details. So I wanted to stand out, and I knew I was going there. I knew it. So that kept me going because not every day you'll be encouraged like that. So that kept me going.
Yeah. Sometimes I make it, one of my advisors, and I was saying to him the other day, it's a decision I know is the right decision. But when things are not going right, your mind will collapse in and of itself. So even though you, like you said, you knew this was the right decision to leave Lagbaja's band, you knew that your instincts had been tested, were there days that you wanted to run back?
Yeah. So let me explain that. Yeah.
Okay.
not that, oh, why did I, but I wanted or I craved that comfort where I didn't have to make certain decisions, where all I needed to do was just sing, dance, and let me just get my pay. You know what I mean? Where the responsibility was just not mine. Nothing concerned me. Just show up and, there were days like that where I craved that because it was hard. You're dealing with people from different backgrounds. You're dealing with a lot of guys who are looking at you like this Molly walk on the, you're dealing with a lot, and you have to make it work. And there was a time I actually called him. I said, I know.
That's what you called Lagbaja?
Yes,
right.
I would probably give you a hard time because me, I was,
You were young and
we
hip.
were younger, like, boss, I know we probably give you a hard time, but now I understand what you were. I was like, okay. I was like, okay.
Okay.
I said, it's not easy, It's not. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So there were days where I was like, oh, just be part of a band again and just, be touring, being the tour boss, blah, 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 Yeah, there were days like that.
Yeah. So you had your band, obviously. You were doing these classic shows, but not as much shows as you had expected.
Wanted.
So did this lead to financial issues at any point? Or were you able...
It led though.
Yeah.
I think like that I use my last couple for rehearsal. Then I was like, how far? Borrow me. So no, of course. Yeah. Of course. There were days like, come on.
How do you cope with those days?
I cope. I mean,
is it truly possible to not look at some of the female acts today and not feel some envy, knowing how huge you were? You were not even... okay.
Oh, yeah. There's envy. Let me tell you. Where is the camera? And there's envy. There's envy. One prayer I always pray is, Lord, I always pray, okay, let me not be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And let me be sincere in my emotions. If I'm happy for you, this is where you do the shekere.
This is how I do it. I will do it.
Anyway, if I'm happy for you, let me be truly happy for you. If I'm sad or if something bad happens to the person, let me not be doing, hey, sorry. That kind of, let me be sincere. Yeah. So, and I always pray that prayer and I always try to be that person. But there are some times when some things I'm like, good for you, but there's no malice,
ill
there's
will.
No ill will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy that this thing is happening. Nigerian babe, I root for, especially the female singers. I root for them a lot. So I'm always very happy when I see things happen like that. I'm like, wow, it's cool, man. That this little teeny weeny is there. Let's not lie. Anybody that is there.
Anybody that, because when I interview people and they're lying, I'll be like, but envy is a natural human emotion.
It's a natural emotion, please. And it doesn't necessarily have to be negative. It's a natural emotion.
It's not what you do.
But don't let it fester. Don't let it turn into something else.
Yeah,
that's when it becomes, something else. But there's no way you won't feel it. There's no way.
Yeah.